Haley Parker. As Susie mentioned, I'm the communications director here at SCDCA. I've been here for about 4 years now, and this is one of my favorite parts of the job. If you don't know about consumer affairs, a lot of what we do is taking consumer complaints against businesses, but we also have an identity theft unit. So that's why I'm here. We provide free consumer education on identity theft and scams year round. But yeah, right now is especially an active time for scammers and identity thieves. And it is especially important to know these basics, the basics of identity theft, so you can prevent and stay safe from these criminals. I always hear from consumers, well, isn't this illegal? Yes, yeah, these are criminals. They do this for a living and they're looking to take advantage of you. So I have some slides here I'd like to share with you. It is Identity Theft Awareness Month every single year in December. And I want to share some basic information with you on how you can stay safe. And I'm gonna cover, this is where I'm gonna go today. So we're gonna talk about what identity theft really is, but I want you to know the red flags. So we know that if you know the red flags, you can better identify a scam when it approaches you, no matter what form it takes. So a lot of scammers or criminals, identity thieves, whatever you want to call them, are going to use your information in whatever way they want. You may be the victim of a scam. That doesn't mean you're going to be the victim of identity theft, but a lot of victims of identity theft, it starts with a scam. So that's why we often pair scams with identity theft. Then we're going to talk about, well, how can I protect my information? And then what do I do if I am a victim? Because, okay, I found out I'm a victim. What do I do now? And that's what we're here for at Consumer Affairs. Here are some myths about identity theft. Identity theft is easy to recover from. Identity theft is a long road. Sometimes I speak to consumers here in South Carolina when we travel the state doing presentations, and they say that they think they've recovered from identity theft maybe a year. Takes them a year to get everything off their credit reports and get rid of all of the bad things. And they think they're in the clear, and then 2 years down the line, they get a notification saying somebody's applied for a credit card in their name. And it's because their information has started getting out there again. Identity theft is extremely difficult to recover from and can keep happening over and over and over again once you become a victim. I'll know right away if my identity is stolen. Oftentimes people can go months, if not years, being a victim and they have no idea. It's because we're not doing the things we should be doing as consumers to see if we have been. We're not checking our financial statements. We're not checking our credit reports as often as we should be because it's inconvenient, right? You can just get a new social security number. This is one of the biggest myths I've heard. The only way that you can get a new social security number is if you are a member of the Witness Protection Program. And there are very specific rules and ways that you can become a member of the Witness Protection Program. And it's not just being a victim of identity theft. So no, you can't just walk into the Social Security Administration office and ask for a new number. It's just not going to happen. So that's why you really need to be protective of that information. Personal information like my birthday is useless to criminals. That is a huge myth because that birth date or your maiden name, your middle name, your mother's maiden name could be that last puzzle piece that an identity thief needs to complete the puzzle that is your identity. So every piece of personal information about you is very useful to criminals. Finances are the only thing affected by identity theft. There are many amazing speakers that will come after me, and you'll learn very quickly that finances are not the only thing affected by identity theft, but it is a large part of it. On average, I think it's $10,000 are lost to identity theft victims each time. But identity theft victims also are affected when it comes to insurance benefits, Social Security benefits, disability benefits, things like that. It is life-altering. Identity theft is life-altering. There's nothing you can do to protect from identity theft, and that's simply untrue. That's why we're here. We want to arm you as best we can. We want to put on those layers of armor so we can arm you with the knowledge to best protect you from identity theft. How does identity theft happen? How does a criminal get information about you to act like you? Because that's what identity theft is, right? They're getting your information to misuse it and act like you. How does it happen? Majority of the times it comes from you. You give them the information. You don't mean to, right? You don't think, oh yeah, well, I'm going to give them my social security number. I'm going to give them my birth date. They're really crafty. They're very smart. They act like your bank. They act like the IRS. They send an email with a link acting like Netflix, whatever it looks like. You end up clicking the link, giving it over the phone, responding to the message on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. You end up giving over that information. Security breaches. This is something we don't have control over. So Consumer Affairs is the state agency that takes security breach notices for the state. So when a business that has South Carolinian personal identifying information that is breached, we get those notices from those businesses. And we know that breaches are happening all the time. We're getting more breach notices than we ever have in the past. And it's nothing that a consumer can do to stop these breaches from happening. So it's really about what a consumer can do to protect, put those layers of armor on to protect their information if a breach does happen. Lost or stolen wallets. This happened to me. I got a new job, and my new job required my physical social security card. So I put my physical social security card in my wallet for the first time in ever. Drove the 4.5 hours. They copied it. I drove 4.5 hours back to my house, forgot about it in my wallet. And a week and a half later, we went to move to my new city of employment. And we went to the grocery store to get an ice chest, and somebody stole my wallet out of the grocery cart. Just so happens that I forgot that my social security card was in that wallet. So do I carry my social security card in my wallet? And should anyone ever do that? No, it just so happened that it was in there at that time, a bad happening, right? It was just by chance. I got lucky because I locked down all of my accounts. They did try and buy a car in my name. That didn't happen though. And I got lucky because this criminal was just lazy. Once they found out that they couldn't do anything with my information, they threw it out a car window, and a good Samaritan actually ended up taking all of the information, called me and said, do you want me to shred this? I got lucky. That doesn't happen. So just know you should not be carrying around that type of personal identifying information if you can't help it. Theft by family or friends is bold and italicized for a reason. Your close personal relationships, unfortunately, will take advantage of you if they fall on hard times. We get a lot of calls in our identity theft unit from older adults where children or grandchildren will have opened up credit cards or loans in their name because they needed money. And that is a form of identity theft. Doesn't matter if it's Mima. You stole Mima's identity when you opened a loan in her name without her permission or her authority. Dumpster diving. If you're still throwing away those pre-approval for credit cards and you're not shredding those or destroying them completely, criminals are still dumpster diving. They can open up that credit card in your name. And stolen mail. If you're paying for things by check still, please walk it straight into a postal office building. Don't just put it into your mailbox and walk away and forget about it, because criminals, even if you have a lockbox on there, will easily get in there and either wipe the check and use it for themselves, or even better, they have your bank account number on the bottom and can just take your bank account for whatever they want, right? So take it into the building. Some people will say, well, what about the blue box? Sure, the blue box is a better option, but those can still get broken into also. So into the physical building, you should go for the best option. And we want you to keep an open mind about scammers and identity thieves. They can show up in any form, right? There's no way for us to know every scam out there. They do this for a living, and they're developing new schemes and tactics every single day, even right at this moment, right? They have to develop new tactics because there's people like me and the rest of the speakers who are giving education, educating you about how to avoid it, right? So don't sit and think, oh, I know everything there is to know about scammers. No, scammers will contact you in any way they can. They have no shame. They are criminals and they are doing illegal activity. They will contact you by phone, text message, through the mail, email, fake websites, in person. They follow the headlines. They will actually go to disaster areas, acting like FEMA, acting like organizations who are rebuilding homes after hurricanes. They have no shame. So don't put it past someone. If you got that gut feeling, trust your gut. No matter the method, the ultimate goal is to get your money or your personal information, because your personal information is money. And the red flags are the same across the board. We may not be able to know every scam out there, but if you know the red flags, you can avoid getting scammed. Here are the most common signs of a scam. Number one, scammers pretend to be someone you know or recognize. So they're going to pretend to be someone you trust. They're going to pretend to be a well-known organization. They're going to pretend to be a government agency, a law enforcement agency, a trusted charity, a well-known business, a friend, a family member. Again, they have no shame, right? They will pretend to be anyone to gain your trust, because they know if you trust or recognize the name or who they are, you're more likely to give them more information or more time. So don't believe everything you hear. They will pretend to be anyone to get more information. Scammers always have a problem that you need to solve for them, or they've got a prize. You've won. So a problem could be that you have a utility bill that you need to pay, or else your power is going to be shut off immediately. Or you've won the lottery. You just need to pay shipping and handling. There's always a problem that you need to fix, and it's usually by giving over information or money, and there's a prize that you've won, and the prize is huge and amazing, and you just have to pay a small fee for shipping and handling, insurance, or some other type of fee. Scammers will pressure you to act immediately. In that last situation with utilities, they're pressuring you. They say, you got to pay now, or else we're going to shut off your power immediately. They're wanting you to act fast. Why? Because if you act fast, you don't have time to think. You don't have time to realize that they're a scammer, that they're an identity thief, and that they're a criminal. The more time you have to think, the more time you have to go talk to somebody else and say, hey, does this sound suspicious? The less time they have to convince you that they're legitimate. And the last one, I think this is the biggest red flag of all. Scammers will tell you to pay in a specific way. These specific ways include gift cards, cryptocurrency, wire transfer, prepaid debit cards, or any other like prepaid bank-to-bank transfer type of payments. The biggest ones this time of year, gift cards. There's a whole other section later on about that. So scammers like these forms of payment because they're nearly untraceable. Right now, really popular is cryptocurrency. And the way I explain this to consumers is, it'd be really odd if you went shopping at Walmart. You walked into Walmart, you're doing your shopping, and you went up to the counter to pay, and you hand over your debit card. And the cashier says, "Oh, sorry, we don't take debit cards today. It's Friday. And we decided on Fridays we only accept cryptocurrency." That'd be weird, right? If a huge retailer just decided to force all of their consumers to pay a specific way on a certain day, yeah, there would be an uproar. That'd be very strange. So why wouldn't it be equally strange if some utility company called you and said the same thing? That's the way we need to be thinking. It'd be very strange if your utility company called and said, "Hey, you need to pay an iTunes gift cards or else I'm going to shut off your power." So it is 100% of the time going to be a scam if somebody forces you to pay in these unusual forms of payment. Here's the roadmap to avoid scams. I don't know if it's a Southern hospitality thing, but you guys love, I'm not originally from here. I'm giving you permission to not answer the phone. You love to answer the phones because you're so nice and polite, but I am giving you permission to not answer that phone if you don't recognize the number, even if the number is from a South Carolina area code. There's this thing called spoofing, and that's a legal term. And spoofing is when a scammer can actually cover their real phone number with any phone number they want. And there's this thing called neighbor spoofing, where they know someone's more likely to answer the phone if it's coming from an area code that the consumer recognizes. So they'll choose a phone number, a random phone number that's coming from a neighborhood that has an area code close to it, because they know that you're more likely to answer it. Don't answer the phone. If you don't recognize the number, just don't answer it. It's not worth it. If it's somebody who needs to talk to you, they will leave a legitimate live voicemail. It won't be a robot, okay? Just don't do it. Block the numbers as they come in if they don't leave voicemails, and just don't do it. Don't answer the phone. I'm giving you permission. Don't give over any personal or financial information from a request you didn't expect. Legitimate businesses are not going to be calling you out of the blue, just asking you to verify your personal identifying information. So they're not going to be calling you unexpected saying, "Hey, we need to verify your social security number." Businesses don't work like this. They're not just going to be randomly calling. Now, if you called them first and asked for a callback, they may ask you to verify information. But they're not just going to be calling you out of the blue and asking for personal information. Don't fall for those high pressure tactics. We already talked about this. They're doing that so you don't think. Take a step back, take a deep breath, and don't fall for it. And again, know those forms of payment that scammers like: gift cards, cryptocurrency, and wire transfers. Don't be wire transferring $200, okay? Wire transfers are really meant for large sums of money, for like mortgages and other huge sums of money. Nobody's wire transferring to just some, $200, things like that. Criminals like wire transfers. Just know that. And then last one, stop and talk to somebody you trust and love. Criminals hate that because guess what? That person you love and trust will say, "Yeah, no, that doesn't sound right. That sounds like a scam." Okay? Before you do anything, before you give over personal information, or you give over your credit card number, or you give over your bank account information, tell a friend or a family member, anyone, what happens, and say, does that sound real? Two heads are better than one, because your neighbor may have had that phone call yesterday, right? Or your family member said, hey, I saw a news story about that yesterday. No, that's not real. Don't talk to that person, okay? Here are the free tools that I want to tell you guys about so you can best protect yourself. You know the red flags. So now, what can you actually put in place to protect your information? Number one, I've mentioned it just a tiny bit. You need to be checking your credit reports. Please, I beg of you, if you have not checked your credit report within the last year, you need to do it ASAP. The only place that Consumer Affairs is going to tell you to go is annualcreditreport.com. That's because it's authorized by federal law to not save your information or sell your information. There's a lot of other companies out there that will tell you that they'll give you your credit reports for free, and they may, but in the terms and conditions, you'll realize that they're selling your information to third-party marketers, and you'll all of a sudden start getting all of these credit card offers, all of these insurance offers, things like that. Annualcreditreport.com will not do that. So you'll get one free credit report from each of the credit reporting agencies, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, once a year. You do have a deal that's been going on since the beginning of the pandemic where you've been able to get one every single week until the end of this year. So, I mean, technically you could get 3 more until the end of this year if you really wanted. It doesn't contain your credit score, but you can pay money to get your official credit score. If you've got a credit card, you can get your unofficial credit score for free through your credit card. Just ask. But please go through your credit report. Why? Why should you be going through your credit report? This is why. If you've been the victim of identity theft, this is where you're going to find it. This is the example of a credit report. All of your personal information is going to be here. Your name and any name you've used in the past, current and former addresses, date of birth, social security number, phone numbers. Your credit report is arguably your most important piece of information. It's got the most amount of personal identifying information about you on it. It's got all of your credit information on it also. Current, past accounts, limits, account balances, payment history, date of the accounts, open and closed, names of creditors, public records, liens, civil suits, bankruptcies, and inquiries. This is where it's really important to go through with a fine-tooth comb and make sure everything is yours. If you have been the victim of identity theft, you will find out quickly if you've gone through your credit report. And inquiries here too matter, because you want to make sure you go through all the inquiries, because if somebody applied for a credit card in your name, it'll be in the inquiry section, whether it was soft or hard. Hard being somebody actually applied, soft being somebody went to go get a pre-approval. We have a whole presentation on our YouTube about this process. I'm not going to go into it, but this is really important. Somebody could have gone out and applied for a utility account in your name, and it could be in your public records section. It could be in your personal information. Somebody could have claimed an address in your name, and it could be on there. It could also just be a simple mistake. There are those times that it has happened. There could be a misspelling that's just happened there by accident. You want to make sure you get those things corrected, and you can, but you also want to make sure that everything is actually yours. I really wanted to hit home on this one because I know a lot of us aren't doing this on a regular basis. Please, please, please make sure you're doing this. Annualcreditreport.com, or you can call the number here and review this at least once a year, and do it on each of the credit reporting agencies' reports. Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, because they may have different information on each. So don't just do it on one and say, okay, I did it on one, I don't need to do it on the rest. You do need to do it for each of the credit reporting agencies. Fraud alert. So a fraud alert is a notification that you can add on to your credit report. These are all free, telling anyone who's receiving a credit application in your name to verify your identity. So this pauses these credit checks that will go through, and it tells the creditor to take extra steps to verify the identity of the person who's applying for credit. There's different types of credit fraud alerts. The most common one that the average consumer would be applying for is the temporary fraud alert. This one lasts a year and then it expires automatically, but you can reapply. And you can renew it as many times as you'd like. They do have an active duty fraud alert for individuals who are serving active duty service members. And then there is the extended fraud victim alert. That is for individuals who have been victims of identity theft. You have to have an actual identity theft report. And that means you can have a fraud alert for 7 years. So frequently asked questions is, does this affect my credit? No, doesn't affect your credit. So don't worry about that. When does it make sense to get a fraud alert? For me personally, I think it makes sense to get a fraud alert always. Okay. If you're worried about anyone misusing your personal information, a fraud alert is a good starting place for an added layer of security. How do you place it? One call, that's all. Just call one of the credit reporting agencies and then they'll talk to each other. You will have to provide identification to them to prove you are who you say you are. But remember, Experian's not going to be calling you out of the blue, being like, hey, want to place a fraud alert? Give me your photo ID. Okay, you're going to be calling them. The security freeze, I call this the Big Daddy. So this is sometimes called the credit freeze. It prevents you or others from opening up new accounts in your name. It lasts until you lift it. Only certain people can see your file when a freeze is in place. That includes you, creditors from current accounts, government agencies, some government agencies, and companies that you pay to monitor your credit file. In general, it's available to anyone. You do have to submit a request to each of the credit reporting agencies. Now, I'm going to say this. I hear from a lot of consumers, this is a huge headache because once I put it in, they're going to each give me a PIN and I got to keep the PINs. And if I lose the PIN, it's a headache to get them lifted and all of this stuff. I get it. It is an inconvenience. I think the little headache that it is now to put this in place is worth it compared to the giant migraine that you will experience when you become a victim of identity theft. Okay. You can thaw it. So if you want to shop around for credit later on, you can thaw it and you can set a time frame, 30, 60 days, and then it will refreeze, or you can permanently lift it. Frequently asked questions, it doesn't affect your credit. It does affect your credit in the sense of you can't, when it's in place, you can't apply for credit, okay? But it doesn't like change your score or anything. And why would you want to place a freeze? This is an additional added layer of security for identity theft. If you're concerned about misuse of your personal information, this is the strongest option you have that's free, okay? I think this is a great option, and there is even an option for minors. It's the protected consumer freeze. Child identity theft is unfortunately real. So I think this is a really great option. Yes, it can be a headache, but just know this is the strongest option. And if you think you've been a victim, this is where we come in. Please contact us. That is what we're here for. We were given state money to form an identity theft unit, okay? You can call us at this number below, the 1-800 number, 922-1594, or you can go to our website at consumer.sc.gov and it's right there on the front page. Identity theft. You click on it and it goes to the identity theft unit. You can either report online or it'll give you the phone number there too to call us. We have entire guides that will go through everything we just talked about and more. So requesting your credit report, the freeze, the fraud alert, closing affected and fraudulent accounts, correcting errors, disputing, blocking, all that stuff. We have entire publications that you can get from us, and we will mail to you if you're a victim. And even if you don't know if you've been a victim, please call us. You can ask questions. That's what we're here for. And we want you to use us. That's what we get paid for, okay? We have some incredible employees who are working the identity theft unit, and they are fantastic at their jobs. That's the bulk of my presentation, but I do want to let you know that we print a lot of our publications, including our scam guide and our how to prevent identity theft guide. We'll ship them straight to your door, no scams attached. And you can order those on our website. But I don't know, I've never done a Zoom webinar. Can people ask questions, Susie?
Yes, they definitely can. There's a Q&A chat down at the bottom.
I'll stop sharing my screen. Well, I'll share I've got my contact information here for people in case. This is my email, my direct email and my direct office number in case you're wondering. We're doing a number of webinars throughout the rest of this month for Identity Theft Awareness Month on our end for SCDCA. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about identity theft in general, please type them in. Let me know.
Oh, here's one. Does the Department of Consumer Affairs mediate complaints like the Better Business Bureau?
Yeah. So you can file a complaint with us, and we can help in any way that we can. So a lot of times we can end up, I know we've had some situations where we've been able to get some money back for people. It's not common, but we have been able to get recover money for some people. Yeah. Especially in identity theft situations, recovering money is not common, but it's happened.
Yeah.